apart from being hideously slow, about 3-4 minute boot up time and about a 2.5-3 minute shutdown time. I still had it and I never sold it. It sat in a cupboard for a while. Well, I decided to pull it out of the cupboard and start playing with it, and been trying a few distros on it via a USB installation. And I've settled on one which I'm currently testing, which again I think I'll throw a quick little review once I've given it a couple of days. And that was PuppyLinux, and it works absolutely fantastic. To compare it to how Windows XP was, it's like a completely different netbook, completely different. The mouse before on Windows XP, you would move the mouse and there'd almost be a bit of lag for when the mouse moved around the screen, and the response time from when you touch the keypads, the mouse pads, to the mouse moving. With Linux, it's absolutely opposite. In fact, it was so quick, I had to turn it down, the mouse response speed, because your mouse points just flew around the screen, just with the slightest touch. And so I'm very pleased with it so far. It provides me everything that Windows XP did. I can play all my video formats, I can surf the net, I can read my emails, except I don't have to use Microsoft Outlook or Internet Explorer or anything like that, and it boots up within seconds. It's certainly not a 5-minute boot up time, which the brand new Windows XP did right from day one. So that's really good, and I'll be covering that in the future, and it just shows the sort of flexibility of these netbooks, because now when I'm playing with it, it's just as quick as my desktop machine. And admittedly, PuppyLinux is more of a cut down version on than what I'm running at the moment, graphically, and but even so, I mean, it does what I need it to do, and that's surf the net, post a few titles.
Most recent releases, those which are based on Ubuntu.
Yes, it's I'm running, and let me just double check which one I downloaded. I'd literally threw it straight onto a USB stick, and I'm looking at my thing here. It's 5.11 is the version of PuppyLinux I'm running. And that was.
I have a kind of a silly question. Does it still bark when you start a session, or is it kind of maybe they decided it was kind of giving fuel to the, and I saw this before, people were making fun of the distro for doing that.
I don't know, because I'll keep the volume down on my netbook permanently. So after this show, I'll go downstairs, I'll check it, and I'll tweet the answer. Very, very nice. And so far, I'm not gonna settle on Puppy yet. I'm gonna give it a couple of days. I'm gonna try a few others, and then after about a week or so, come up with my ideal distribution for it.
It's making a bit of a comeback in some sense, because Barry was taking distance from the distro estimate about 1.5 years ago, and he was given the impression that the distro was just going to be left to the community. As far as I know, based on things I've read, he's still involved, so he kind of came back. And he also has all kinds of, I'm not sure if offshoots is the right word, but they have can you maybe remind me, they have a very funny name, something like Fluffy or something Twirly or something, a distro based on Puppy, which is supposed to be more hackable.
Now I saw this on Linux Tracker when I was getting Ubuntu Puppy 5.1. I can't think what it was called.
We spoke about it actually a few shows ago. We mentioned that. It seems like quite a bit of interest around the distro, possibly due to the smaller devices being used, tablets and sub notebooks and maybe even phones can run this distro. Certain phones that have sufficient screen resolution to do that. And I'm pretty encouraged now. I'm seeing some things about Migo. In recent days, it's quite active in China. I think they're quite interested in trying to put it on phones there, and it's also a way of trying to not be tied to Google and to Android, and actually do your own thing. And gosh, Windows phones. Who the hell is using this thing? Nobody's customizing this. I mean, when was the last time you heard about a major carrier or a major phone manufacturer actually announced anything exciting to do with it? The last thing I heard was LG, which was one of Microsoft's main partners for Windows phones. They announced a dual-core phone, and of course it ran Android. What I'm not too happy about is the fact that LG is paying Microsoft for Android because it contains Linux, and LG decided, well, we'll just pay Microsoft for whatever. We don't really know what for, so.
But I mean, just briefly touching on the Windows Phone 7, and I see very little on it. On it personally. I mean, the only thing that sticks in my mind is that AT&T, I believe, were doing a deal trying to give two away for the price of one. Which somebody tried pointing out to me saying that, well, Android phones you can get with a contract for free, and well, yes, but they don't give away two Androids for the price of one. And
it's really strange. It's well, what if you sell a home and you kind of say, well, buy a home and get one for free?
Yeah, well,
these are phones. It's not like food, you know. It's
I mean,
strange.
Well, it made me actually shiver because I think you know, Roy, because I've blogged about it so often, probably ranted on for far too long. But I was one of the unfortunate people who didn't buy one Windows mobile phone many years ago. I bought two, one for me, one for the wife. So I had double the misery, and that's seeing that deal from AT&T just brought back those unhappy memories of having two of the damn things that you want to get rid of. But I've seen nothing with Windows Phone 7 at all. And
it reminds me. I mean, why would you? I think some people might actually use the same phone twice. I know a person like yesterday I spoke to a person who had an iPhone 4 and he was extremely happy to get one. It's more of a status thing to him, I think, because he only plays games on it and he just buys all the gear, you know, to put the phone inside the casing and everything. And it turns out today I spoke to another friend of this person and he tells me, hold on a second, this person has two phones, you know. The iPhone is just for games, but there is the phone that's actually being used to make calls, you know. Yeah. So
that doesn't surprise me.
It's just like a PDA.
But maybe that's where Apple are quite lucky because they've managed to target and corner the sort of fashion side of technology, and it actually isn't geeky or untrendy, if that's such a word, to have an Apple product sticking out of your pocket. And I think it's the type of thing that Microsoft would love to work out how to do because, of course,
he's got an Android phone that he actually uses to make phone calls in some cases and also has an iPhone. It's the co-founder of Apple.
Because
he has an Android phone and he explains why he needs to use both in case one of them doesn't work. And usually it means the iPhone doesn't work, the iPhone 4, which we know the antenna has had some issues. Yeah, and he was explaining, well, I've got an Android phone on me, and I think it was I probably shouldn't guess, but I can almost remember which brand it was. He basically carries this around just in case his iPhone doesn't work. He uses a Linux one. He doesn't use two iPhones. He uses different brands, you know, so to kind of reduce the chances of both having the same type of issues at the same time. And this is why the 1+1 offer, it's a weird, you know, even usually when you give these offers, you tell people, well, you can choose different colors or you can choose different brands or different modes because you probably want to at least separate and distinguish the things. You know, if you see both of them in your house, you at least know which one belongs to which person. You know, you need to have this separability in terms of, you know, visual appearance. And here they kind of offer, you can imagine them actually bundling these things and putting a kind of a ribbon around them, you know, not the office type ribbon, but an actual ribbon kind of like tying them together, like, here, have two phones, if one breaks, you can still use that, you just flip it over, and then you kind of, that's just so...
the mind boggles. I mean, what the other point that I would make, I mean, in relation to the phones, we've talked a lot in the past, both of us, about Microsoft getting money from Android phones. I know we both had views on that. Again, it's typical because you look at WordPress and how Microsoft was very lucky, in my opinion, to be able to get WordPress to take all of its blogging customers, which it obviously didn't want anymore, and obviously didn't want to turn around to them and say, look, sorry guys, we're not, guys and girls, we don't want your blogs anymore, so all your work's gone to waste. And I said at the time they were very lucky to have WordPress to come and bail them out, and I think Steve Ballmer could breathe a sigh of relief that he didn't have to turn around to his blogging community and say, look, we're not going to support you anymore, your blogs are gone. But again, if Linux is going to help Microsoft make some money, at the end of the day, it's more of a sad indictment to Microsoft rather than Microsoft muscling in on Linux, because it just proves that their products aren't up to scratch, or at least proves that their products aren't what people want. Certainly, if everybody was buying Microsoft Windows Phone 7, or they wouldn't have to come after Android to be on starter.
Failure. They have two major failures at the moment, which I think cost them a lot of money. You're talking about billions of dollars in pure, in pure losses. Now one of them is the online business, and that's to do with blogs and of course now there is the news about Yahoo shutting down Alta